Finally, we don't need to listen to Amber Cox speculate about her health. We don't need to listen to Stephanie White speculate about her health. Straight from the horse's mouth herself, Caitlin Clark reveals she is 100% healthy, good to go, ready to go, back in action.
And just like that, Caitlin Clark reminded everyone what happens when you bet against her. Because while some people were still speculating about whether she was ready to compete again, she walked onto a golf course and accidentally exposed the biggest problem in women's basketball. This isn't about her swing. It's not about one viral putt. This is about what happened when another league treated Caitlin Clark the way the WNBA should have been treating her all along. And the contrast is devastating. Picture this: Pelican Golf Club, Florida, the Annika Pro-Am. Caitlin Clark shows up in full Nike gear, her own clubs, looking like she belongs there. The crowd is massive. They're not just watching, they're chanting her name like it's March Madness. And here's what nobody expected. The LPGA doesn't just tolerate this, they celebrate it. They build their entire event around her. They put cameras on her every move. They pair her with Nelly Korda and Annika Sorenstam, two of the biggest names in golf. And when she drains a long putt on the 18th hole with wind howling in her face, the booth loses their minds. If you believe the story behind the story matters, smash that like button. It tells us we're on the right track. Because what unfolded at that tournament revealed something the WNBA has been trying to hide for months. Let's start with the numbers, because they don't lie. Ticket sales for this event multiplied 12 times compared to previous years. Not doubled, not tripled, 12 times. 34 million social media impressions in 1 week. The chief operating officer at Pelican Golf Club called it one of the most talked about women's golf tournaments ever. And Caitlin wasn't even competing in the actual tournament. She was just there for the Pro-Am, the fun warm-up event before the real competition starts. But here's where it gets interesting. Many of you have been saying this for weeks, and you were on to something. The LPGA didn't treat Caitlin like a celebrity guest making a cameo. They treated her like she was their star. They promoted her in every highlight reel. They gave her prime broadcast coverage. They had ESPN and Golf Channel following her around the course. And when the pros finished their rounds, players like Lilia Vu, Andrea Lee, and Megan Kong all rushed to meet her. Not because they had to, because they wanted to. Nelly Korda said it was like playing with a friend. She's relaxed, confident, just really enjoying herself. Annika Sorenstam called her super mature for 22, said she handles herself so well and brought energy and fun to their event. The LPGA commissioner went even further, calling Caitlin a once-in-a-generation crossover star who brings incredible energy wherever she goes. Read between the lines here. The LPGA saw Caitlin Clark and immediately understood what she represented. A bridge between women's sports and mainstream culture. A reason for millions of new fans to care about their sport. And instead of feeling threatened by that, instead of worrying about whether she was getting too much attention, they leaned into it. They made her the headline. They built campaigns around her. They let her shine. Now, let's talk about what was happening with her actual swing, because this is where people online got it wrong. Everyone fixated on that one putt on 18, the huge breaker that went viral on social media. And yeah, that moment was incredible, but that putt was just the surface. What really mattered was how she looked throughout the entire round. The commentators were watching her on the 10th hole, and they weren't laughing. They were impressed. One of them said this is not a basketball player messing around on a golf course. This is someone who has been putting in real work. Her swing was smooth, balanced, controlled. She released the club properly, held her finish, walked after the ball like she'd been doing this for years. By the time she reached that 18th hole, the wind was blowing 14 miles an hour in her face. Most celebrity guests would just be happy to get the ball somewhere on the green. Caitlin lined up a long sliding putt and drained it with thousands of people watching.
Here is Caitlin at the 10th. like she was able to put into work a little bit of what Jamie was telling her release that.
We got Caitlin Clark walking down to the 18th hole. Wind blowing 14 miles an hour out of the northeast. A beautiful sunny day. This putt is unbelievable. Look at this freaking putt. Wow. Wow. Unbelievable. Caitlin Clark's got real talent, folks.
The crowd erupted. This wasn't a sympathy cheer. This was a real golf moment. And it destroyed the lazy idea that she's just a basketball player having fun. She looked like a legitimate golfer who happens to be one of the best basketball players on the planet. But if Caitlin was the calm in this story, Sophie Cunningham was pure chaos. Sophie and Lexi Hall were out there with her, rocking fever gear, acting as caddies and hype squad. Sophie grabbed a club on the tee and went full Happy Gilmore with a running start. She took a wild swing, the ball flew, and a spectator went down. Then 2 or 3 other guys dropped to the grass, all of them playing it up, just trying to get a moment with Sophie. The internet went crazy arguing about whether anyone actually got hit. It was hilarious, chaotic, and it proved something important. Sophie is great content. She's pure personality and drama. But Caitlin is something different. She's not viral because she's loud. She's viral because she's dangerous in any arena you put her in. And that's exactly what caught Bryson DeChambeau's attention. After that putt, actually after the coverage, after the crowd reaction, Bryson started talking about Caitlin. He didn't just say she's a good golfer. He invited her to play in his Internet Invitational in 2026. Now, at first, that might sound like just another fun side event. It's not. Bryson's Invitational is a content machine. His videos pull 2 million to 3 million to 5 million views. He's building a golf empire on YouTube, and he wants Caitlin in it. Think about what that means. One of the biggest names in professional golf sees Caitlin Clark play one Pro-Am and immediately wants to build content with her because he understands what the LPGA understood. She moves numbers. She creates moments. She brings audiences that other athletes can't reach, and he's willing to put his platform behind her. This is where the WNBA should be paying attention, because while Bryson DeChambeau is extending invitations and the LPGA is rolling out red carpets, Caitlin's own league is still arguing about how much attention she's allowed to have. Let's filter out the noise and look at the facts. Caitlin Clark increased WNBA attendance by over 300%. She boosted national viewership by double digits. She became the league's top jersey seller, and she still earns just $78,000 a year on her rookie contract. Meanwhile, she shows up to a golf tournament and gets treated like royalty. The contrast isn't just noticeable, it's embarrassing. Before we go deeper into what this means for the WNBA's future, drop a comment below with your thoughts on how the LPGA just schooled an entire basketball league on treating superstars. Because what we're about to break down might change how you see Caitlin's next contract negotiation. Here's what the WNBA gave Caitlin Clark: bruises, physical altercations that went unpunished, backlash from veterans who resented her popularity, silence from leadership when she needed protection, and a media strategy that often hid her post-game press conferences behind low traffic clips while other leagues were broadcasting her in prime time. The LPGA gave her cameras, prime coverage, and gratitude. They didn't try to manage her star power. They trusted it, and it worked. The results speak for themselves. Sellout crowds, record social media engagement, fans driving from multiple states just to watch her practice swings. And here's the kicker. Every single person involved, from the tournament organizers to the professional golfers to the media covering the event, understood that Caitlin wasn't competition. She was a gift. Connecting the dots reveals something uncomfortable. The WNBA has a Caitlin Clark problem, but it's not the problem they think it is. They're worried about control. They're worried about whether one player is getting too much attention compared to everyone else. They're worried about maintaining some kind of artificial parity in the spotlight. Meanwhile, the LPGA looked at the exact same situation and saw pure opportunity. Let's talk about what happened behind the scenes, because this is where it gets really interesting. We're getting into speculation territory here, but multiple sources close to the situation have been whispering about something significant. The LPGA didn't just invite Caitlin back because she's famous. They invited her back because they saw last year's numbers and realized they'd found something rare. A crossover star who actually delivers. Last year, when Caitlin played in the same event, she generated massive buzz. This year, they built the entire marketing campaign around her return. They announced it months in advance. They promoted it across every platform. They made sure everyone knew that Caitlin Clark was coming back to golf. And the investment paid off immediately. This wasn't luck, this was strategy. Now think about the timing. Caitlin's WNBA season just ended. She had one of the most physically demanding rookie years in league history. She dealt with more defensive attention than any player in recent memory. She got knocked around, hard-fouled, and trash-talked by veterans who should have been welcoming her. And the moment the season ends, she goes to a golf tournament and gets treated like the star she actually is. The message is impossible to miss. Other sports want Caitlin Clark. Other leagues understand her value, and they're not afraid to show it. Paige Spiranak went viral after tweeting about this exact dynamic. She said, "The hate toward Caitlin Clark from some players is disappointing. Women can be vicious while preaching empowerment. The LPGA gets it. They're letting her shine." That's not just a random observation. That's a diagnosis of exactly what's broken in the WNBA. Tiger Woods praised Caitlin's impact. LeBron James called her special. Chris Evert said the WNBA should appreciate her for what she is, the best thing that's ever happened to women's basketball. These aren't casual endorsements. These are legends from other sports recognizing something that her own league refuses to acknowledge. And here's where this story gets really uncomfortable for the WNBA. If these reports are accurate, and if the pattern continues, Caitlin Clark is building leverage that has nothing to do with basketball. She's proving she can generate massive attention in multiple arenas. She's showing that her star power isn't dependent on the WNBA's platform. She's demonstrating that she has options. Think about what that means for her next contract. Right now, she's locked into a rookie deal that pays $78,000. When that contract expires, she's not going to be negotiating as just another player who wants more money. She's going to be negotiating as someone who can walk into a golf tournament and generate 12 times normal ticket sales. Someone who creates 34 million social media impressions in a week. Someone other sports are actively recruiting. The WNBA has spent months treating Caitlin Clark like a problem they need to manage. They should have been treating her like the solution to every problem they have, because fans don't fall in love with leagues. They fall in love with people. And the LPGA understood that instantly. When Caitlin stepped onto those Pelican fairways, surrounded by thousands of cheering fans, she didn't look like someone fighting for validation. She looked like someone who had already won. No drama, no controversy, just respect. It was the perfect visual metaphor for a basketball star outshining professionals in a completely different sport, not because she demanded it, but because she earned it. Analysts are already calling her LPGA crossover a marketing masterclass, a win for women's sports that the WNBA could have owned if they had embraced her sooner. And maybe that's the real exposure here, not the difference in pay, but the difference in respect. The LPGA didn't try to control Caitlin. They trusted her, and in one weekend, they showed the world what real support looks like. So while one league celebrates a basketball star, basketball fans are left asking a painful question. What if the WNBA treated Caitlin Clark the same way? Because the answer to that question might determine whether the league's biggest star decides that basketball is still worth the bruises. If you want to see how the WNBA responds to this wake-up call, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. We're tracking every move Caitlin makes this off-season, and something tells me the next chapter is going to be explosive. Because the league that thought they could take her for granted just watched another sport roll out the red carpet. And Caitlin Clark doesn't forget respect. This is the turning point. The moment when the WNBA either figures out how to celebrate greatness or watches their biggest star build a legacy everywhere except on their court. Drop Team Clark in the comments if you're riding with her, no matter what league she dominates next. Because nobody changes the game like Caitlin Clark, and she just proved it with a golf club.